Hey, Richard Mellor here again for Facts for Working People. And I just wanted to talk a little bit here. I've tried to make this video a couple of times and I've been busy and not quite figured out how to do it, and I don't take notes, as I've confessed too many times. But I've got it all in my head. And first and foremost, it's about the teacher struggles. We all know about the teacher struggles now. No one would have predicted what happened in 2018 would happen. All the experts, Labour experts, and everybody else, including none of us on our blog, would have. We understood it in general that there would be some shift within organised labour and the movement begin to start, but we didn't anticipate it beginning there and spreading in the way it did and occurring where it did. And we've got a number of articles on the blog about why it occurred in the red states, where the union officialdom, the union bureaucracy was weaker. It was not able to suppress the movement from below. It was this movement from below bypassed the trade union leadership. They tailed it. Some of them came on board and were very, very helpful and everything afterwards, but they didn't lead it. And also they violated the law and so forth and so forth. I want to. It's such an important thing in a sense because we talk about being in a new era, and in a way that has opened up a new era within the labour movement. I mean, what they've shown, because I've said on a video before that for 40 odd years I was told you can't strike in red states, you can't strike where it's against the law, you can't do this. The union officialdom is very adept at telling us what we can't do. Some people say, well, they're the only force in society that actually obeys the law. Except when it comes to their own members on some occasions. But those teachers' struggles have, in 2018, thanks to these sisters and brothers, there were 20 major work stoppages involving 485,000 workers. That's according to the BLS, that Bureau of Labour Statistics. That was the highest in 33 years. And so it definitely has opened the door a little bit. And I just want to talk here because we've criticised the trade union leadership on numerous occasions. I was active in the Central Labour Council in my area for 12 years. I don't criticise. I've been accused of raising criticism of the trade union leadership, and others have on this blog. As a matter of principle, it has nothing to do with that. Where they're positive, it's good. Where they're negative, it's not good. But I want to talk a little bit here about Kentucky because I know and have gotten to know some of the people in Kentucky. I was at a forum in Oakland at the end of last year, I think it was December or November, and I heard 3 women speak from different struggles, Arizona, Kentucky and West Virginia. It was very inspiring. We put them all on the blog. I've followed Kentucky since, and in what happened last year was that the KEA, the Kentucky Education Association, an affiliate of the NEA, there was a split off, not a breakaway, but they call it an advocacy group, whatever, a caucus, quite a significant element that sort of broke from the tradition and split from the KEA in terms of policy and approach, and that was called the KY 120. And we report on this in the blog. And there was KY 120 that led the struggles that were behind the struggles in 2018. Well, in the early part of this year, there was another split off or a similar. It wasn't like a breakaway, leaving the union, abandoning the union or anything, but another force that arose, and it was gathered around a Facebook page called JCPS Leads. Now, this element was predominantly Jefferson County, which is the 30th largest school district in the United States. It's the largest in Kentucky. It encompasses, I don't know exactly, but I know it encompasses Louisville and suburban areas there in Kentucky. And I believe it's about 18% black, because Louisville is an urban centre, for example, and it's probably a mixture of working class black folks, white folks, and maybe middle class liberals. So it's a mixture of this element that moved to the left there. And in the early part in January and February, they shut down under the leadership of that and the motivational force of that county and the people there involved. They shut down the schools for 6 days. They shut them down because they couldn't get enough subs to fill in when they had sick. They called in sick to attend Frankfurt, to go to the state capital, to Frankfurt. Now what happened was KY120, the group that led in 2018, and the KEA, the state Teachers Association, and the state made a deal about how many people could go to Frankfurt. Some would be let off, some would keep the schools running. They made some sort of deal. In other words, to make it acceptable to the state and to the make it acceptable in general, I would say, to the power, to the Democratic Party that is always there in the Labour movement and what have you. Well, they violated that. The Jefferson County people, black folks, whites, parents, Black Lives Matter folks were involved in it. They violated that agreement. They didn't abide by that agreement, and they called in sick, even though they were asked not to do so. This enraged the influential figures within KY120, the group that had led it in 2018. And it brought an assault on from various forces on the people from Jefferson County. Now, one of the issues when I was in Oakland in the latter of last year, and I mentioned these three women that spoke. One of them, a teacher from Tia Edison, a teacher from Louisville and from Jefferson County. She had raised in her speech, and I'll probably put the 3 videos up again if I get this up. She had raised about when they were having calls in about the teachers. There was all around pensions, laws against pensions, and the teachers' wages, and all of those sort of things. Because it encompasses Louisville and the urban centre where the black working classes, black poor are. In the eastern Kentucky, you've got the similar situation with white rurals, white poor, Appalachia, and what have you. Is she had raised that when you call in, when you take up this issue of the teachers, would the unions also oppose the gang ordinance bill, which has since passed? It was a gang ordinance that was there, which would give the state, anybody that knows about this, would give the state more power in the cities and in the urban centres. That's what it's directed at. In its communities that are already in crisis, it would give the state and the police more power to frisk and search, to pull people in, to do. I don't have to explain what that is to anybody that is awake. And so they asked that. She raised this back there, Tia did, in the end of the last year. And she reported on it. The union refused to, influential people within KY120 and of course KEA refused to take that up, refused to have a campaign and urge the members and the people to take that up, to urge Kentucky on the east side, the Appalachia and the state in general to take that up. This is a major issue for black teachers, for black parents, and also because it's their schools that have been shut. Look at Rahm Emanuel, look at the school closings are overwhelmingly in poor areas and affect communities of colour. All they were asking was they made it clear that the unions opposed that bill. And one of the leaders of the KY120, we have her on the blog, she was angry. They objected because of Jefferson County called in sick, was behind the sick outs that shut down the schools against the agreement they had with the state. She got very, very angry at Jefferson County, and she's talked about opposing, why she didn't support opposing the bill because she didn't want to she said she didn't want to risk fracturing the nascent movement and muddying the water. It's not muddying the water at all. It's making the water very clear. But that's what she said. And she attacked Jefferson County and JCPS leads and the groups and the people involved in that. In other words, what you had in 2018 was a little slightly leftward shift then, and now you've had a further leftward shift with JCPS leads and the people around Jefferson County, and quite understandably, because of the crisis in the urban areas among black folks, and also, as I say, I'm not fully aware of everything, but I will also say it's left-leaning and suburban and liberal white people and allies as well, I would say. But so what was interesting, I was on a phone conversation one time with some of them, and when the leader, this influential leader of KY120, explained why she wouldn't, she said it would fragment the movement. Of course, she didn't mind splitting the movement and not supporting black folks, which is really a lot of the people behind this, the victims of this gang ordinance, although all teachers are, because they teach kids. And one of the people said, one of the people from Jefferson County said, we're trying to figure out why, well, she happened to say, well, the people in Appalachia and Eastern Kentucky, they're as poor as us. This was a black person. I don't know what's the matter with them, so. Trying to figure out why they wouldn't do that. Well, they wouldn't do it because the union leadership didn't do it. It's very difficult. And it's taken years, you see, with West Virginia and everything else. It's very difficult to go against and breach that dam that is the conservative trade union leadership. And the point I wanted to make was, look, if the leaders of KY120, if the leaders of KEA, the State Teachers Association, had said to the poor whites and the rural whites, more conservative, concerned and everything else, look, we need to support, it was a minor detail. Just say you oppose the gang bill. If those leaders have said to the more conservative rural whites, look, it's important, it will strengthen us all, not just parents but teachers, it will strengthen us all, we need these allies, we have to unite, we won't be able to defend our pensions and our future without building these links and fighting for the crisis that is occurring in the ghettos, in the urban centres, among the communities of colour, and also in Appalachia and the rural poor. You have to bring those together. Had she, instead of saying, I don't want to split the movement, don't want to frag the movement, in other words, she was blaming conservative or rural, working class, poor whites for the reason she didn't want to support the gang ordinance and campaign for it. That was dishonest, and there's a reason for it. They're terrified of a united movement. Anybody in the Labour that leads the Labour movement or proposes to lead the Labour movement or any movement, if you don't see an alternative to what we're living in, to capitalism, to the crisis of capitalism, if you don't, then you're going to hold back the movement from uniting. You're going to hold back a potentially powerful movement because it threatens the way you see the world. So not only that, after that, they have the head of the Jefferson County Teachers Association, McKim is his name. He calls a press conference, and to that press conference they bring SEIU, AFSCME and the Teamsters. Now, anybody that knows the labour movement, they all hate each other. I don't mean personally, but they're all competing for our dues money, those people. They're all competing for our dues money. I've seen fisticuffs, or there have been reports of fisticuffs rather, on picket lines as different union officials and their business agents and their staffers are fighting to get their union in, and another union is trying to get in. It's been a war at times. And they're united. The Teamsters accuses Jefferson County of pimping out their members. The AFSCME attacks them, saying our members are losing money because of you. SEIU and so forth. So in other words, the leadership of the local trade union movement, and incidentally the Louisville Labour Council has about 50,000 workers in it. The leaders of the local trade union movement, or some of them, they came on and they attacked Jefferson County. KY120, she attacked Jefferson County. Now, any mistakes the folks at Jefferson County has made, the teachers, Black Lives Matter folks in there, parents and others, any mistakes that they have made, and I'm sure we all make mistakes, don't undermine the fact that what they are the movement that should have been supported, because it was the aggressive, more militant movement that wanted to link up with the community. The gang ordinance should have been opposed, should have been vocalized. Had the union leadership come out strongly, brought Eastern and Western Kentucky together, how we have to rise together, how we cannot defend teachers, we cannot defend education, we cannot defend our pensions without uniting in this way, without dealing with the issues in the community, in fact, without dealing with national issues and international issues. So the trade union leadership in this instance, as they always do, has suppressed that movement and attacked the most aggressive and the most militant. I don't want to hear about what mistakes they made. In the general, they were in the right mode, they're heading in the right direction and should have been backed up. But there's nothing that the Labour bureaucracy fears more than a united, powerful movement, because it undermines the relationship they built with the employers based on labour peace and the way they see the world. There's no way, capitalism is no way we can threaten it. There's no way we can, the boss has a right to shut the factory and head off to wherever. That's how they see the world. And so I want to focus on that in Kentucky, because you don't hear anything about it. You read nothing about it. Where's the leftists? Where are the, we've reported and condemned those trade union leaders for this. It's not a personal issue with us. We've condemned them. Where's Labour Notes on this? Where are all the lefts in the unions on this? I went to my Central Labour, the San Francisco Central Labour Council. I tried to get some stuff passed, even in my own, when Alameda, when I was here. There were socialists and leftists and members of socialist groups in there. They say nothing. They say nothing that draws them into conflict with the present right-wing bureaucracy, because they're all there by the grace of their goodwill instead of the power of the membership. I've not seen all the articles and condemnation of the trade union leadership of SEIU, AFSCME, the NEA, KEA, the National Educational Association, and the Kentucky Educational Association. No condemnation. Maybe there is. If there is, please send it to us. We'll put it on the blog. I want to hear from Labour Notes about that. I want to hear from all the socialist groups, socialist individuals, all the socialists in unions. Have they raised in their locals what happened down there? And what the offensive against the more militant Jefferson County that's been waged by the trade unions and the in Kentucky? That's what's happened down there, and it bothers me that there's the left and the left in the left bureaucracy, or just leftists in the trade union movement, have not whispered a word about it. I'd like to see some stuff from them, particularly Labour Notes. They write a lot of stuff. They rarely ever criticise the trade union leadership, because it's actually the sort of, most of the people at Labour Notes are in the left wing of the bureaucracy itself. They're normally officials or staffers or what have you. They organise great meetings. They can bring great support, but we have to have a struggle and call out against the present bureaucracy, the present right-wing, conservative, pro-management bureaucracy, and we have to have it openly, and we have to support them when they fight. We have to condemn them when they don't. And in Kentucky, they undermined the more militant, more aggressive group, Jefferson County, the parents, teachers, Black Lives Matter, those elements there that were trying to build a more powerful movement down there. And that gang ordinance, shame on them for not condemning it and coming out strongly against it. If you want to wonder that sometimes when black folks want to go off on their own and everything else, that's a reason. But the leadership is to blame. And that's why I raised that point about the woman attacking Eastern Kentucky as being so conservative. It's not the fault of the members. Leaders are obligated to lead. Anyway, I want to get this off my chest. I've tried a couple of times. If it's not bad, I'm going to put it up there. What the hell, okay? All right? So anyway, it's Richard Miller, Facts for Working People. Talk to you later.